All right, guys, welcome on in to my YouTube channel. This is King Tilt Lord here. Today we're going to be talking about LCS and the lock-in that just happened. The tournament that got played. For those of you who don't know, LCS just ended up playing a somewhat carefree tournament, which I'll go into better detail about. The idea about it was fantastic. I loved it. I'm really happy that they do it and that other regions like EU can copy this tournament. So the idea between the lock-in tournament was a great way to allow every team the flexibility to play whatever roster they wanted. It was a carefree, doesn't count for towards your regular season standings. They broke you up into two groups, and then you played three group stage games, three or five. I think it might have been five. Five group stage games, and then when you got in and you got through your top four teams from each group would qualify, so only one team from each group did not qualify. The like I said, it was great gameplay because it was a group stage and then best of threes for quarters and semi, and then semis and finals were best of fives, which I absolutely love. I love the fact that they realized that hey, these first couple matches might not be the most important or the closest, so let's make them best of three. And then the only unnecessary thing that it showed was that visa issues are still a really big problem in NA, which we'll get more into as we talk more about power rankings and how I feel teams will do in the spring split or the spring portion of the season. Um, it also showcased that NA can be competitive. There was a lot of really close games, really high impact, quick, really good tempo. These were, in my personal opinion, the top six teams that performed in the lock-in tournament. But like I said, we'll go into power rankings. What I expect for the spring season. Who are the good teams to look out for? You should all know the first one, and the first one is going to be Team Liquid. Team Liquid is by far the best team in NA. They just won the entire lock-in tournament. They almost did throw to C9. However, I just think on paper and in play, they probably have the best laner, the best person in each position. So they have Alfara in the top lane, absolute rock. And then in the jungle, they have Santorin. In the mid lane, they have Jensen. In the bot lane, they have the legendary duo of Core JJ and Tactical. I think Tactical is continuing to get better, while Core JJ just shows that no one's on his level. And then their coaching staff, which I brought up, which I thought was really important, is Jat and Cold. Cold is the position coach, and then Jat is the head coach. I think that team will be the best team in the spring. It'll be interesting when we get into the later part of the season for Worlds, who qualifies as number one seed. But I think most fans would select Team Liquid as the best team in NA right now and moving forward. Second best team is Cloud9. We have to see how good they become. It was a really rough showing for Fudge. So showcasing that move to get rid of Licorice, to be able to sign Perks, to have the money to be able to sign Perks, and in thinking that Fudge would be an easy replacement. Doesn't always work out the way you think. But I think Fudge has the chance to improve. He looked really well. He played much better in the Aurelia games he played later in the series, which they ended up winning the first Aurelia game. So the team consists of Fudge, Blabber, Perks, Sven, and Vulcan. I think this season, especially in the early going, will depend on how well Blabber can play, and then how well they can put Vulcan on engaged supports. I think Vulcan is a really, really good engaged support player, and it'll be interesting to see if they can continue going on with the meta, which how it's been with a lot more enchanter supports might be coming into the meta. Their head coach is Rainover, first time head coach, and then their assistant coach is Mithy, who obviously was a head coach for Fnatic and worked with Sven and Perks in his previous playing life. So I think it'll be great to see how good this team will continue to grow, because I think there's only room for improvement. You have a second year jungler and you have a first year top laner, so we'll see how well they can continue to grow, as well as Perks going back into the mid lane. How good can he get? Can he really get to where he is the best mid laner in NA? Only his time will tell, and his fights with Jensen we'll figure it out. The third best team in NA is 100 Thieves. I think 100 Thieves, obviously they took the core of Golden Guardians. Everyone memes about it. It's Golden Guardians A with Someday. I think Someday right now is the second best top laner in NA outside of Alfari. I think he's the only person that really has a chance to rival Alfari, and the rest of their team is really good with Closer, Demonte, FBI, and Huhi. I think a lot of this team's success will depend on Demonte and how much he can grow his champion pool. He is pretty well known now for playing Galio TF and just champions that can roam around to help his lanes. So we're gonna have to see what he can do when teams start taking that away from him and they put him on more of a carry role. And if the mid lane meta turns into more of a carry role, how he'll do. But I really like Closer. I think Closer's a really good jungler. And then we have to see how FBAT will continue to grow as he is only in his second year here in NA. The dark horse of NA, this is now the fourth best team in my opinion, is Evil Geniuses. Evil Geniuses the most has one of the most intriguing lineups because they have Impact and Absolute Rock in the top lane. Then you have Svenskar, and you pretty much know where you're going to be getting from him. The biggest coin flip here is Jizuke. They replaced him halfway through the year last year. I wasn't a big fan of that move. I thought Jizuke was a much better player, although sometimes he can just, he will win or lose you a game. That's how he plays. He played that way in Europe, and he's playing that way still here in NA. Bringing in definitely as the AD carry, I had a lot of reserves about it in the beginning when I first saw the roster being announced, but he did play very, very well in the lock-in with man, what is his name? Sorry guys, I'm just having a brain fart. With Ignar as a support, wow, I can't believe I forgot Ignar. It's the face, I just can't get used to the jersey. But Ignar is obviously a world-class support. We'll see if they can continue to put him on rank or on engage supports. I think he's a really, really good engage support player. So doing that kind of play style to help set up that team will be really good, not just relying because in the lock-in tournament, it was a lot of impact trying to 1v9. So I like to see that team play more as a whole, which will obviously become more realistic the more time they have to play together. Moving into the next best team here, which is in my opinion, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this because I didn't put TSM as the fifth best team, but I personally believe this FlyQuest team has a really, really good chance of being a really young and good team. They have Licorice in the top lane, Jose Dioto in the jungle, Palafox mid, Johnson and Diamond. It is true when they didn't have Jose Dioto in their lineup, they looked like a really bad team. But once Jose Dioto came in, they looked really good. They looked really competitive. I personally like the fit, and I think that them having Palafox first year LCS starter and Diamond first year LCS starter with Johnson second year LCS starter and then a young Licorice, this team could be really good. So I have eyes on FlyQuest. I'm expecting him to be better than that of TSM. TSM is the biggest wild card, and not for a good reason. I think TSM has the possibility of ending up like third in NA, or they could finish like seventh or eighth. This team is really coin flippy. Their top laner is a definition of coin flip with Huni. Huni, some games he looks really good, and then sometimes he looks like he should just retire. And then you have Spica in the jungle. We'll see how he continues to develop. Power of Evil, you know what you're gonna get from him. He plays control mages, probably better than anybody. It's all he plays as well, which is an issue if the meta ever moves away from control mages. You have a rookie in Lost who he played all right in the lock-in tournament, but didn't look like he was really doing anything like out of this world like you saw from other players. And then obviously you have Sword Art in the support role, known for his engage supports, but also his bard. I think he could be a voice of reason for that team, but a lot of it will come down to how they play as a team. They didn't look very cohesive. There's a lot of really big misplays, especially on Huni's part. So I have him at 6 right now. We'll see what they do moving forward. Like I said, this is the biggest wildcard team in NA. We're going to see if they're going to be good or if they're going to be bad. I have a feeling they're going to be probably right around that 6th spot, but we'll move into it because I think actually NA is really competitive this year. Moving into 7, this is another shock. 7 through 10, realistically, it's going to depend on a couple different things like visas. But I personally think Immortals, with the coaching staff, with Giotto, and their Oceanic AD carry and Riles, and then there's their EU jungle support duo from Origin, Xerxes and Destiny, can be a really good team. I think we need to see what Revenge and Insanity can do in the mid lane, but time will tell. Obviously, they're going to get bodied by the better mids in the region, but that's to be expected. I think Revenge will have a hard time against the Alfaris of the world, and same with Insanity. But I think they can hold their own against most mids in the NA. Golden Guardians is a very interesting team. The photo's kind of not that great. I apologize for that, but I really liked what I saw from them in the lock-in play. I thought Niles was actually a pretty good top laner. It looked like Iconic is more the carry of that team, which fits with the jungle meta. Ablaze Olive is a very good mid laner who was in Academy for a super long time under Bjergsen and TSM. And then you have Stixay and Newbie. I was always really hard critic of Stixay in the past, but I liked the way he played in Golden Guardians. He looks like he's revived, trying to prove that he's still a good player. So I really like that assertiveness out of Stixay, and Newbie again is from Oceanic. So we'll see how that this team pans out. Right now I have him at 8 right now. So it's a very interesting team because this team could sneak into playoffs. If not, they could. I wouldn't be surprised if they're 8 through 10 either. Moving on forward, this is a very interesting team because Dig is a full NA team. Obviously, as some of you know, a lot of these teams that are owned by NBA teams didn't get to have a lot of money to spend in on their rosters because the NBA lost a lot of money due to COVID. So for Dig, they have Fake God, Dardog, Soligo, Neo, and Afromu. They took Fake God and Soligo from 100 Thieves, and when they played together a couple splits ago now, almost 2 years ago now, um, I was more impressed with Soligo's appearance in the lock-in tournament than I was with Fake God. Fake God lost lane a couple times really hard, but he was playing against obviously very good high caliber top laners, as there is a lot now in the region. But Soligo held his own pretty well. He looked pretty good on Yone. We need to see Dardoch build more traditional champs. He was playing um, Moonstone Renewer, Nidalee, and Lilia, and then also build a random Karthus game in there. The biggest question mark for Dignitas will be Neo to see how well he plays. But like we said before, time will tell on this team. It's a full NA team, which is very cool. You don't see that anymore, literally at all. Most teams have at least 1 to 2 imports, if not more, like TL, who has 4, but they just have NA residents. And then the last team is CLG. Um, CLG, I have them at 10th. I actually really like their roster, but I have them on 10th because you're not going to get Finn and you're not going to get Brox until at least mid-February. They already came out and said they're having a lot of visa issues coming from Europe. So I don't think the replacements are that good, especially Wiggly in the jungle. So I think Finn, Broxa, Pobelter, Wild Turtle, and Smoothie could probably fight for a 6th spot in NA as a roster, but I just don't know how long it'll take them to get to that full complete roster practicing together. So it might be more of a summer split kind of thing for CLG. But I do like this team. I think Pobelter, Wild Turtle, and Smoothie. This is more of a veteran team. It's a very different approach to what most most of the lower tier teams are doing. Most of the lower tier teams are investing in imports from Oceania and just getting a lot of rookies in, whereas CLG is getting more of like a proven name. So we'll see, especially how Broxa plays in CLG. He looked a little um, contained in TL, so maybe he'll be able to break free and go back to that Fnatic kind of play style with CLG. But like I said, guys, that's my thoughts on the 10 rosters and what I thought of LCS Lock-in. Just a brief overview one more time. I think LCS Lock-in was really, really good. I'm interested to see how this longer season works out. I know there's only playing, excuse me, 6 weeks of LCS spring split technically. They'll be playing 3 days a week, but they're only playing 6 weeks. So that's why I think the visa issues will hurt teams like CLG because they might play 6 to 9 games before they get their full roster even practicing together. So it's a really big deal. But like I said, guys, let me know what you think. If you liked the video, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more of this content. I'll be doing one on Thursday for the first 2 weeks of LEC have been going so far, and my thoughts on LEC so far. So, like I said, if you like it, give a like on the video. Have a good one.